Hi, welcome back to another episode in my kitchen. Today we're going to be cooking a butter bean masala British Indian restaurant style. Now, I've never had this in a British Indian restaurant before. Is it my own creation? I'm not sure, but I thought of it some time ago. It's a delicious dish. It almost has a korma type texture. Those butter beans break down somewhat. And so let's talk about the ingredients. We have a can of butter beans. You can use fresh and soak them overnight. A little bit of bicarbonated soda really helps with the marinating. We have a handful of chopped coriander, which we're going to use in the dish and for garnish to give it texture and colour. We have a teaspoon of methi leaf, and we have just under half a teaspoon of that delicious but Jolokia chili powder, curry powder that I made in the last recipe. I'll post a link up for that. We have half a teaspoon of Kashmiri chili powder. We have a good pinch of fennel. Fennel with this dish goes really well. And we have some true cinnamon, real cinnamon. I can understand why a lot of restaurants use cassia bark. You know, this is going to break up in the dish. Cassia bark obviously stays whole, intact, and you can take it out, but the flavour's second to none, and it does disintegrate, and you don't really notice it too much. We have 3 fresh green chopped chilies. We have half a teaspoon of salt. We have a heap teaspoon of ginger and garlic paste, and because I'm using this quite mega spicy curry powder, we're going to be using, this time, I don't usually do it, but we're going to be using Madras curry powder. Yeah, simple Madras curry powder, Raja brand, and there's about a teaspoon there. We're going to be using some lemon juice. There's half a lemon there, excuse me, but we're not going to be using it all, just a good squeeze. We're using half a cup of plain natural yogurt. We're using 1 small onion, quite finely chopped for texture, if anything, and a little bit of sweetness with the onion. And we're using, there's about nearly a tablespoon of double concentrated tomato puree with a little bit of water to dilute it. And as this is a British Indian restaurant style cook here, we've got some base gravy. We're going to be using about 200 millilitres. So this is a great side dish. It's a great main dish if you're a vegetarian or pescatarian. But one thing I can say about this dish, if you have friends coming round and maybe you're cooking a chicken or a lamb curry, have this as a side dish. It'll certainly be unique and a really welcome surprise. Okay, so let's get cooking. So I have my base gravy heating up alongside my pan here. I have 3 tablespoons of rapeseed oil for flavour and health, if anything, but you can use any oil you want. So that oil's nice and hot now. I'm going to add the fennel and I'm going to add the cinnamon. And we're just going to let that slowly roast. Some of the flavour from the fennel and cinnamon is going to infuse that oil. Next we're going to add our onions. On a medium-high heat at this stage. Just going to saute those onions, we'll come back shortly. So those onions are starting to brown now. Let's add our ginger and garlic paste. Excuse fingers. Give that a stir. You just want to give that a quick whirl, just to release some of that water content in the ginger and garlic paste, and roast it slightly so you get the full flavour. 30-40 seconds should be enough. Don't want to burn your garlic, it'll taste really bitter, you'll have to start the dish all over again. So let's add our tomato puree to that. And again, reduce the water content slightly. Get everything nice and mixed. And just leave that oil split, and we'll come back to that shortly. So that's been sizzling away now about 40 seconds. The oil's risen to the surface, which shows a lot of the water has evaporated and your dish is cooked at this stage. Now next add the methi leaves, the Madras curry powder, my hot masala or chili powder that I made earlier, the Kashmiri chili powder, the salt, and we're just going to stir those spices in, cook them through, make sure they're well infused into the rest of the ingredients. That's thickened that paste up somewhat, and we're going to just let that fry off now for about 20 to 30 seconds. Let's add a good tablespoon of lemon juice. There's a couple of seeds in there. I love seeds when they go in a dish for texture. Really, really wholesome. That lemon juice will balance those flavours out. We don't want to disintegrate too much. Now we're going to add our green chilies, and we can add one quite small ladle of base gravy, probably about 75 millilitres. Just going to give that a stir. Just want to create a sauce at this stage, so a little bit more base gravy. So about 125 millilitres gone in there. The oil's splitting straight away. That's the beauty of having your base gravy heating up alongside the dish. That's looking really great actually. Pity there's all that steam, because that's looking really great. It's splitting already. Just going to let that simmer down now for about another minute and a half. We'll come back. So that's simmered down now. Let's add the yoghurt, and let's just turn the heat down a little bit. The yoghurt's got plenty of moisture in, but you don't want it to curdle. Let's just stir that yoghurt. That yoghurt really changes the scenery, loosens that mix up, and changes the colour slightly. And again, another 40 seconds. Let the bubbles appear, let the oil split somewhat. So now we're ready to add our butter beans. As they're from a tin, they're quite delicate. Obviously, if you're using the fresh butter beans and marinating them, well, soaking them overnight, they might be a little, so stir gently. Just make sure those butter beans are covered. With that lovely sauce. And again, we're going to bring that to the boil. We'll come back to that in about 50 seconds. So if your tastes are similar to mine, I think you can see how good and wonderful that curry looks. It's amazing. So we're going to add most of the chopped coriander. Some people like to add it to the dish and not garnish it. Some people like to garnish it and add it to the dish, and some people like to garnish it. The choice is yours, but I just think with a vegetarian dish like this, it looks really great to have some wilted coriander in there as well as the garnish. So that cooks in seconds. You don't really need to cook it, it just sort of heats up and shrinks significantly. So the garam masala went in there. Put the garam masala last so you can really taste that pungency with those whole spices. I should have put my garam masala recipe up in the ingredients as well as the base gravy. So again, we're going to let that simmer. Going to turn the heat up. We're just going to let that simmer now for another minute or so, and we'll come back to that, ready for serving. So that's exactly how I want it. Smelling amazing, looking great. Got a lot of texture going on there. We've got bubbling right throughout the dish, and let's serve. So there it is. If I do say so myself, that looks fantastic. Just how I want it. Amazing taste as well. A little bit more coriander for garnish. Don't overdo it. And a little bit of a wedge of lemon here. So there you go. Butter bean masala with a special blend of Jollikia chili masala. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed the recipe. Thanks for watching. Feel free to share, like and subscribe. And by the way, let's get some subscribers on my channel. I want some more inspiration to cook more wonderful, great recipes in the future, and I'll do that with your help also. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.